talk like that before a rugby match, would you? I've got a sore thumb.
We want to know what they're doing out there. He's all right.
Yeah, maybe if they lost a limb, you might get that.
Graham Swan woke up with a dry throat this morning and he had a glass of water. We're told he is okay.
It's not affected.
We're not saying that the whole series depends on Graham Swan or anything, but okay, let's move on to Manchester City. He might be the manager with the biggest chequebook, but it's not buying Mancini results. Manchester City are now 8 points behind Chelsea after losing to Wolves this weekend, and there are newspaper reports that the players aren't happy with the manager's methods and want him to go. Striker Emmanuel Adebayor and defender Vincent Kompany were seen arguing during Saturday's defeat, but as you heard from George, Kolo Touré is insisting there are no rifts.
No, not at all. Not at all. You know, we are a team. In any team there is problems. You know, but the most important just try to resolve in the dressing room, in the training camp. And I think after this game we had our word. The manager had his word, and the players had the word as well. And we know what we can do for the future.
So is arguing on the pitch a sign of lack of unity, or is it just about passion?
It depends on the circumstances, the context and what's going on.
Okay, then on Saturday?
And that's a sign of disunity and chaos. If it can, you know, sometimes players need to G each other up, there's no question about that, and certain players act as that sort of rallying cause within and deliberately pick on other players just to get them going.
When Bruce Grobbelaar and Steve McManaman
but I think on Saturday we've already had, on the back of the Yaya Touré Milner incident the previous week, we had this week. We know that the relationship between Tevez and Mancini is not the best. Kolo Touré can say what he likes. He wouldn't he? He was the same Kolo Touré who said there was no problems at Arsenal when Gallas and Adebayor were kicking lumps out of each other in the dressing room. You know,
he just lives in rose-coloured spectacles.
He's a lovely boy, is Kolo, it has to be said.
But there is only one answer. If you're asked that question, you don't say, actually, there are loads of risks. We're really, really unhappy at the club at the moment.
Spirit's never been better. Everyone's behind the manager. I mean, it's just not normal nonsense.
You list of football cliches when you know it's...
The reality is, Mancini is not that popular. And also, more worryingly for Mancini, he is dispensable because he's not...
Why is he not popular, Mike?
Because he's tried to institute an Italian-style dressing room discipline culture, which is double training, which they don't like. There's a degree they think...
I'm sorry, can I just bring Karen in here, who made the exact face that I think most people listening would make, which was like, oh dear me. I mean, you know, somebody who spent her life getting up at 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock in the morning to get the early swim sessions.
That's what I don't understand. If you maybe try it, see if something new, try something different, maybe you can be better. I mean, the thought to me of being in a team where the manager says, right, let's do something extra that no one else is doing, that should be exciting. It should be something people want to embrace, not thinking, actually, I'd rather be, you know, playing on a PlayStation, shopping or playing golf.
This is not me agreeing with the player. That would point out at this juncture.
You are the defender of those players.
I personally do think that it's about time players at all clubs started to take responsibility rather than looking to apportion blame. It happens time and time and time again, and actually if I was a fan at City, I would be heartily sick of the behaviour of some of these players who are earning more in a month than they will earn in their entire lives, quite possibly.
And they're out boozing midweek and student
I
parties.
mean, there is a lot going on there. There's a problem. We've had Mancini for over a month now has been telling Adam Johnson privately, and when that didn't work publicly, stop it. And he doesn't stop it.
No.
Why? What is it? Why can't these players, who have a limited shelf life, show a degree of personal discipline?
The new Manchester City manager, Martin Lipton.
But it's the question that, you know, people are asking, and John Anderson, you know, we've kind of talked about the obverse of that with Newcastle players coming out in support of the manager, and showing again how powerful players can be, because that's the positive of player power. They're giving the manager support, but it's the manager who should rule the roost.
It should be, but I think the game has gone full circle now, where one time managers had all the power. I think players have got so much power now that if players want managers out, they'll go, you know. And the situation at Manchester City seems to be that players have got no respect whatsoever for Mancini. Nobody seems to listen to him.
It just seems pathetic, though, that is allowed to happen, that, you know, because they don't want to do extra training, or they're told that they shouldn't be going out to student parties in St Andrews.
Well, I think the trouble at Manchester City as well, you've got so many big egos there as well. You know, a lot of money's been spent on players to bring them in to try and win a premiership. We played them. They beat us 2-1, and they were very fortunate on the day. They didn't play well at all. It looked like a team that had just been assembled of individuals. They had no plan. They didn't play well at all. They didn't seem to have any structure to the side at all. And Mancini is under severe pressure now, because obviously they've spent a lot of money. They've given him money to spend. They want to win the Premiership, and if you've got in-house fighting, like it seems to be, not just with players and the manager, but with players and players seem to be falling out with each other all over the place.
If they did get rid of him, and it'd be very expensive to do that, it will also be then very expensive when a new manager comes in and says, I want to buy,
that's not a problem. That's not a problem.
But still,
and perhaps that is the problem, because that is not a problem.
What are they going to do? Ask the players who they want.
Exactly. That's my next question.
Is
he going to be suitable, the manager that comes in for those players?
Well, for the first 3 weeks they'll say how wonderful it is, and the manager will say the players will get fitter, and the same normal nonsense goes on, and then they'll lose a couple of games and it'll be rubbish as well. As I said, it's about responsibility on the pitch and off the pitch of the players. The trouble for Mancini is that he has to be top 4 this season, or he's a goner. He's suddenly got some big games, because on the back of these 2 defeats he's got West Brom, who are playing really well, the Manchester derby midweek next week, Birmingham, who are difficult to beat, we know that they're organised. Then on November 21st he got a little trip to South West London, to Craven Cottage. Who's manager at Fulham now? Mark Hughes. Fulham 2, Manchester City 0, goodbye Roberto. That's what it'll be like. It's as simple as that, because he has not got players who want to play for him for whatever reason. It's the players' fault, but that's the way it goes. He has got to find a way of getting those players to want to do it, and I'm not sure enough of them do, and he will be the first one out, because whatever they... And when I hear people at City saying, oh no, we've got a long-term plan, we believe in the manager. Hold on, stop the clock, rewind 12 months. What were you saying last October when people were questioning Mark Hughes' future? Exactly the same thing. What happened?
Ina, a Manchester City season ticket holder, says Manchester United have lost as many points through draws as we have lost in the last 2 games, but I don't hear you saying that Ferguson will be sacked. Mancini will stay. As to staying beyond this season, it depends where we finish. I'm sick and tired of the constant beating up from the media. If we win, we only win because we've spent. If we lose, you beat us up because we've spent. So it's a no-win situation for us. You can all criticise as much as you like, but rest assured, nothing the media or anyone else says will influence what Mansour does. If Mancini does not get City into a Champions League place, he will be gone.
I would argue Ferguson has proved himself slightly more as a Premier League manager than Mancini at the moment.
And if the Man United players were fighting on the pitch, we'd be talking about that then. Exactly. I mean, it's
certainly not applying against City.
City are being judged by the same standards that Chelsea were from 2003 onwards, because they are the biggest financial hitters in the world. They have a wealth that exceeds the dreams of Croesus. That's the reality. As a consequence of that, they are judged more harshly. They have to deliver. Chelsea had to do it. The first year under Ranieri, Chelsea was second in the league, got to the Champions League semi-final, and it still wasn't good enough. He had to go. Mancini's in the same boat.
But isn't there some lovely karma in all of this? On Saturday, Wolves showing that actually team spirit is actually more important, and unity and fight. And Mick McCarthy's been telling us that Wolves have been playing well, just not getting the results.
I've seen Wolves a few times this season. I like them. I like the way they play. I think they've got a bit of stick for some robust and couple of dodgy challenges, but actually every time I see them, they play the game the right way. They work really hard. They've got an excellent line leader who doesn't score enough goals in Kevin Doyle, but does everything else right, and they have an organised team who work, and that's good. And they've started to get some reward. I mean, they had a terrible little run. Everyone thought they'd get rolled over again, me included, on Saturday, and yet they've got a great result, which gives them some momentum now. Unfortunately, they've got United up next week, haven't they?
And then Arsenal, I think. So yeah, they haven't got a very nice run, but they've got a result which will give them confidence, unlike City. So how long do you give him, John?
I think they play Manchester United. That's obviously going to be a big game for them. Similar to us yesterday, it's the game that supporters want to win. And I agree with Martin. I think when they go to Fulham, if Fulham were to turn them over, I think that could be the final straw for it.
And he finally, Mark Hughes finally got his win as well at the weekend. So
and they played well, actually.
Fulham, yeah,
they did. I went there with my daughter, took her to her first game. It was great, actually. We sat behind the goal. It was really fun.
Is that her a Fulham fan for life now, then?
Well, hopefully I'll turn into a Spurs fan, but if I can't manage that,
Is that why you took her to Fulham first?
local club. But no, I thought they played really well. Dempsey was terrific. His movement was excellent. Scored 2 good goals. They passed the ball well, I have to say. They're a nice team for them.
Okay, we'll leave that there. Dave in Peterborough might get the final word here. Man City spent more on one player in the summer than Wolves' whole first team cost. The one thing you can't buy is spirit. Why is all the talk about how poor City were and not how good Wolves were? Hopefully we addressed that a little bit at the end there, Dave. Thank you very much for that, though. It's 12:46. Louise back with travel.
We'll start with South Yorkshire. Better news.